Recorded live and edited for your viewing pleasure, it's Countering the Crucible. Athame, how are you doing?
Doing pretty well.
Yeah, you had a specific defense that you've been running and you wanted to talk about this one specifically. I'm going to bring it up right now. Here we have the Heroes for Hire with Doc Ock. Why are you putting Doc Ock on this?
So Doc Ock and most of Heroes for Hire was already on defense, and a lot of higher end war players especially already have Heroes for Hire really built up. It's going to tend to draw a pretty decent sized counter and or an important counter. A lot of people try to run Black Order into this without the war buffs, and Doc Ock plus Shang-Chi just absolutely disassemble the Black Order.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really good trap that either sucks out a big counter or can actually trap a win.
Okay. And we're going to be looking over Fury's defense today. He sent those picks in, and he's got some ideas of how to trap some things and stuff. And I think both you and I kind of maybe disagree a little bit with his defense. But before we get into that, how was your Crucible run, man? Did you score big? I heard you did pretty good against some DormHold teams.
3-0, took out Dormammu, took out a DormHold, pretty much just cleaned house. Solid wins across the board. I actually took 3 to 4 defense wins every round.
Wow. I did not have as good a luck. I was in a hurry, and I went up against a Web Warrior team with, I used Black Order thinking, oh, I'm punching down 200K. This should be a snap. And I'm finding that those numbers are so deceiving, much like Tower, they are not proportional. Do you think the numbers at the bottom there, do you think those aren't including Stark Tech, or what's going on? Because everybody's complaining about the numbers not being proportional to how big the teams really are.
So given that the power it's showing you actually tends to be lower than the character that you have on your roster,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm pretty sure is actually happening is not only is it not showing you Stark Tech, it's not showing you the percentage gain from Defender's Advantage. So you're actually
So it's a double whammy.
Yeah, with a dramatically lower level on the team where it's almost 150, 200K.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, was at least 150 to 200K. So that sounds about right. So in my instance, where I took a Black Order when I thought I was punching down, but was actually kind of punching up into Web Warriors, what should I have used against the Web Warrior team? This was, I think, is in room 1 or 2. There was nothing going on.
So against Web Warriors, I've seen a lot of people struggle with the Black Order counter. I'd say that's probably the middle of the road counter that it's not the best, but it is an option, especially if you are comfortable with it. The easiest counters are going to be either Dark Hunters and or Uncanny Magic. I'd probably go for Uncanny Magic first if you have it built. If you don't, it's perfectly fine to use Dark Hunters there. I'm personally using Astonishing X-Men as long as you focus down Ghost Spider. You might suffer a little bit on turn bonus, but it tends to pull out just fine.
Yeah, you mentioned Astonishing X-Men. Benny Westside actually passed along an idea, and I forgot to use it. I really wish I would have. It's a team he calls Axe 23, which is the Astonishing X-Men, but you sub out Kitty Pryde for X23. And the idea is you use Bishop to knock somebody under 50%. I think you're going after Miles, knocking him under 50%. And then you are able to ability block Ghost, since that ability block almost always lands. And you can ability block Ghost and then take the team out from there. It sounds great. He says it works really well on punch acrosses and slight punch ups. So I think that's probably I'm gonna give that a try next time and see how it goes for me. I might test it in war a little bit, since most of the time I'm finding Web Warriors in 1 or 2. Do you find that?
Yeah, so I tend to find Web Warriors in the first 2 rooms. The thing I'm going to pick apart here is specifically his approach. I do think it's a reasonable team, but considering Bishop's special can't be avoided, I would go for Ghost Spider and put that block from X23 on Spider-Man so he doesn't put slow and defense down on the whole team.
Yeah.
That's personally how I would approach that fight.
I guess. Let's switch over to Fury's teams and give him a score of this and see what you think. Now he's got Web Warriors with Doc Ock in room number 1, and I'm running Web Warriors also, but I'm using Symbiote Spider-Man. I think that health boost is fantastic. I like that better than Doc Ock. I think Doc Ock could probably be used elsewhere. What do you think?
I definitely would prefer to put Doc Ock elsewhere. Obviously, I have him with my Heroes for Hire. My big thing with Web Warriors is if you're going to sub out a character as well, it really should be Spider-Punk, because Miles is the character that breaks the chain on the team so that you don't end up with chain attacks going through the entire team.
Because that'll really open it up to Dark Hunters, right? They can just go across in the opener. Of course, they're not going to do as much with Doc Ock, though, right?
They should still do just fine with Doc Ock there. Dark Hunters should.
I mean, because Doc Ock isn't Hero City, he's not going to get some of the things happen to him. But I can't remember. Is that only in War? Maybe that's only in War that the Hero City tag.
They only do the blind to Hero City, and that's it.
Okay, yeah.
They still do a ton of damage, and it's pretty open kit wise, other than the blind.
Yeah.
So the big thing for me is that if you sub out a character, it really should be Spider-Punk, not Miles.
I agree. For me, this is a missed opportunity by taking Miles out of there, and I just don't like Doc Ock in there. I think it's a 6 at best.
I'm pretty much close to that. I'm going to give it a 5.
Okay. You're tough on these, man. I'm in a good mood today, though. Okay, number 2 is the Wakandans. I really like Wakandans in 5. I can't get over that. That's been doing really well for me. People either go into it with like a DormHold or something crazy, or else it gets wins. So I don't like it being here in room 2. Also, I'm not a super fan of the placement either. I'm thinking Killmonger next to M'Baku, and then the rest of them with the wonky power levels probably don't matter so much.
I'm in a similar boat. Killmonger should always be adjacent to the tank because he's always going to have the counterattacks regardless of the rest of the team having it or not. So the second thing on top of that is that really you do want Shuri kind of in the middle to separate the rest of the team.
Yeah. So not bad. I think it's a missed opportunity with where the team is. I like it better in a different room, limiting some of the counters that go into this because, in room 2 with such a small team, relatively small, I should say, your opponent might have a big black order that they'd want to use, and it could still pull it off with a big enough punch down because a lot of OG players have these 800-900K black order teams from back in the day. So it's just a common counter, and I think if with the size of this, you should be putting it in room 5 to limit some of the options. So for me, it's not a terrible waste or anything. I just think it needs a little touching up. I'm going to give it a 7.5.
I'm pretty much still at the 7 just with you. It's a positioning thing for me and then the room issue.
Okay. All right. Team number 3 here is the Dark Hunters. Fury used Rhino. He's trying to stop the Brotherhood counter. I don't know if there's a lot of Brotherhoods out there that are going to be taking on this team, so I'm not sure if Rhino's the best move. I think there's other stuff that could just... he's using, he's replacing one character to stop one counter, and it doesn't really have an effect on every other counter that comes into this. So, props for trying, but I think it's probably going to be better with something else.
I'd have to agree here. I don't particularly care for Rhino in this team. It's a super niche answer that really is a one trick to countering Magneto. Loki tends to do better on this team if you have him open, of course, just because he gives that extra speed up to Morbius, which gets the rest of the team going. On top of that, I do have an ISO issue with Morbius as a striker. The turn order on the team with him going first means that first turn striker is almost always wasted. He really should be a skirmisher, or my personal favorite, a raider.
Yeah, I think this team definitely lacks a true fifth that would probably go before Morbius, allowing Morbius to be a striker, and also giving Morbius a focus boost because he's not reliable. especially in regular war when he's trying to flip things and stuff. Sometimes I see him still getting resisted, especially the smaller ones. So it's good. I like the team in room 3. I'm not excited about Rhino. And then, of course, the placement with what's his name out there, Voodoo out on the edge is kind of an issue. So several things I don't like about this team. I'm just going to give it I'll be generous to give it a 7, I guess.
Yeah, admittedly, I forgot to mention the Voodoo placement. Voodoo's special won't give barrier to non-Dark Hunter allies if he isn't adjacent to them.
Yeah.
So he really does need to be adjacent to whoever your 5th is. I'll give it a 6.
Okay. Let's see. Room number 4, the slowdown room. This is a strange mishmash of people. Of course, you've got Black Bolt and Yo-Yo with some synergy there. Ghost is a plug-and-play character with some turn meter rewind and retaliatory attacks. And then you've got Sinister with Madeline Pryor. And those are the two that I just think Madeline Pryor without some sort of protection, she's kind of slow, and I don't know. I was just really not impressed with her. So I don't know what's going on with his team, what it's built for, or if it's just a bunch of things that he's not using and he threw into this slot. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty much right there with you again. I have a lot of issues with room 4, particularly on this team. I think that this should either be one of 2 directions. It looks like he's going for a middle ground. It should either be full Marauders with Sabretooth and you putting a different character on your Weapon X, because Sabretooth and Madeline will both assist on non-attack abilities, putting out a lot of extra damage along with the Madeline passive. That, or you just go full on the Dad Bro and Black Bolt side and go like Black Bolt, Yo-Yo, Surfer, Dad Bros, which is what I've been doing, and that's landed me quite a few solid wins.
Yeah, I think if you're going to pull Sabretooth off of Weapon X for this team, there's actually some pretty interesting things you can do with like mirror matches with Weapon X by subbing in Cable. And if you're already taking Sabretooth off the team, you can also take Silver Samurai off the team. Silver Samurai adds very little to the Weapon X team outside of war. And so, I mean, he's got a stun and stuff, but I think you could sub in somebody better on that Weapon X team to do some interesting stuff. You know, throw Spider-Woman in there with her early ability block and things like that. So yeah, I kind of like the idea of taking Sabretooth and putting the full Marauder kind of team in here. I think that's going to be a good one. For me, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe I'm missing something, but it does kind of just look like some random junk thrown in here. I think it's a 4 for me.
For me, it's going to be probably a solid 1. I don't think this team is going to do much of anything. Particularly with Emma not being here, the team is just too slow. It's a lot of slow characters.
Yeah. All right. So Cosmic Catastrophe, room number 5. Here we have an SA team with Emma and Dr. Doom. No cosmic people on the list, so they're not too bad. Yeah, I mean, this is a big scary team, I guess. You've got Emma in there to try and cleanse an ability block off of Dr. Doom. Sam with the taunt, of course, lots of blocking and healing. And you've got the RNG of Carter throwing out that ability block or stun on your team. So it's a troublesome team. It's in room 5, so you've got pretty limited options on what you can take into this team, but it's obviously not defeatable. Let's see. Striker, Skirmisher, Striker, Skirmisher, Skirmisher. So 3 Skirmishers, 2 Strikers. I don't see any problem with placement ISOs or the team composition, really. I'm running different stuff in 5, but it's okay for me.
So the thing I'm going to pick apart here is particularly that this team is more so vulnerable to the mirror match than some other setups would be. In terms of if they just sub out Zemo to ability block Doom early on, and or if they have Infinity Watch for room 6, they would just throw DormHold here, and DormHold can punch up like 300, 400k. Because the ability block for Morgan will hit Sharon, Emma, and Doom.
Yeah. And I guess you could probably... Yeah, you could probably run... Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I was thinking you could maybe use Fury in there, but that's not going to change it. You're not going to be able to You'd still need 2 ability blocks. No, I agree. So it's nothing exciting, but there are some they do have some opportunities to beat this team. So I'm going to give it an 8. It's not done wrong. It just could be better.
I think I'd go 7 with a lot of the same logic there, is that there are some pieces that could be moved around to make it a bit more efficient.
Yeah. Okay. And time dampening in room number 6 with the Infinity Watch. You don't like the placement of this team or the team in room 6?
I really didn't like the placement. I'm very particular about my placement with Infinity Watch. I have, since the meta really came out for that last year, kind of locked in what I consider the correct placement for this team.
Mm-hmm. And do tell.
I'm pretty confident that it should be Nebula on the corner, then Moondragon, then Adam Warlock, then Gamora, then Phyla-Vell.
Yeah.
In most of your counters, it's either going to be Phyla-Vell or Nebula. That's your first target, so you want them on one of the corners. Gamora is going to be one of the tankiest characters in the team that will throw a taunt, and whoever's the next tankiest if they go after one of that sides. And then putting Moondragon, of course, she is going to be another character that sometimes people have gone for, but not nearly as often. So you want her next to the other priority target, and Adam in the center because he is by far the beefiest character on the team, and will soak up most of the AoE damage no matter where they go.
Okay. And on Crucible defense, do you like Moondragon as a striker or a healer?
I've always preferred Moondragon as a healer. I've never been a big part of the striker crew on her because even with her at a massive level of investment, her damage is altogether not too high outside of her ultimate.
Not to mention her speed being kind of rather slow. So she's not getting a lot of turns to attack. I only like her as a striker on arena offense during the meta where it was just mirror matching. I found it very useful to have her come back in after the death proof was removed and she'd tap them that one extra time to kill the target. And that was it. That was all the striker was ever used for. So I agree. Yeah. In fact, I need to go through my roster and change mine back to a healer.
A lot of the reasoning for that on Moondragon wasn't even because of the double tap itself. It's because of the order of operations, specifically on Blue 2.3 or Blue 3, however you want to call it, where the extra damage based on the percent of health applies after the striker attack. So even if the striker attack itself is the attack that triggers death proof, the bonus HP percent comes in and kills the character after.
I see. So I'm not a big stickler on placement when it comes to Infinity Watch because, frankly, I'm so tired of doing that mirror match. I can't stand it. I just see Infinity Watch and I think, can I DormHold this or something so that I don't have to play another mirror match? I don't know. I think Infinity Watch should be reserved for offense in case somebody else puts their Infinity Watch on defense. I know that there's several counters out there to it now that don't require mirror matches and stuff, but I like keeping it on offense for me. So that's the only thing wrong that I have with the team other than we should switch Moondragon to healer. You like a placement change? I'm fine with this placement, but if you think it's better, then go with Athame's placement. And I'm just going to give this team I'm going to give it an 8 just because I want it on offense.
So I'm going to give it an 8. I don't have a problem with Infinity Watch on defense. I do it. Again, my main problem is just a few niche placement changes that I have found to be important in alternative counters, not so much the mirror match. The mirror match doesn't rely on positioning as much, but in terms of other counters, it can absolutely make a difference on where characters are. There are some counters, and this is what I was going to mention when you were talking about Silver Samurai earlier. You can use Omega Red with Lady Deathstrike and then the Eternals and a solid 5th to actually take out Infinity Watch in room 6, even without the turn meter manipulation.
Oh, I'm going to have to try that one out. I wish we could practice in Crucible, but I'm kind of glad we can't because then everybody would know everything right up front. So That's how it goes. Well, that's it for Fury's defense. Appreciate it for sending that in, Fury. If you guys are interested in having your Crucible defense looked over, either send those pics to me or Athame. Our links will be down in the description below so that you can find us. And Athame has a lot of stuff going on with Crucible. He's kind of the man you want to talk to about this. He's really getting geared up for it. And as you can tell, he knows his stuff. So be sure to get a hold of him. If you're not already following him on Twitch and YouTube, be sure to go over there, give him a like, a subscribe, a follow, all that stuff. Athame, is there anything you wanted to say before we sign off?
There is, for the few people out there who are in hold of Dormammu and are working on getting them, there is a different strategy where people are putting a solid defense early on, and then a Dormammu defense in room 6. So be sure to watch out for that, because it is going to force you to clear 2 much more difficult teams rather than 1 super difficult team. And that is something that I've personally even seen at Diamond level, where I had to counter a DormHold in 1 room and then a Dormammu in another room.
Yeah, DormHold in 1 and Dormammu in the other. Yeah, I think Boylon came across that when competing against Pathfinder Gaming just the other day, and both of them have videos out on that matchup. So I think we should be spreading those 2 apart if you have that or are about to have that. I think that's a good way to do it also. So I'm keeping my DormHold on. I like going heavy on offense, so I have lots of options. So that's my bet. But let's wrap this thing up. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. Those links are down in the description, and we'll see you next week. Bye.